Dearest listeners,
Book babes and book bros.
welcome to Book Babble. I'm Rachel,
And I'm Tanya, and we're the Witlet Women, your hosts for the day.
and today we have Vanessa with us for our rapid fire AMA. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Vanessa Kramer. I live in Blue Springs, Missouri, which is right outside Kansas City. Huge Chiefs fan. I live in Blue Springs with my husband, my two sons, and my cat, who is my third child, basically.
That's amazing. My cat and my dog are also my children, so I get that. Uh, well, Vanessa, we are so excited to have you on. Are you ready to babble?
I am.
Awesome. Well, I'll put 5 minutes on the clock and then we can get started.
All right. All right, my first question is always, can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, so I have four books. I wanted to focus mainly on Great Divide because it was my official launching off into authorhood. It's dark fantasy. I actually have it right here. It's about a young woman who has a terminal illness. She has Crohn's disease. She meets this handsome stranger. They fall very quickly in love. He seems almost too perfect. And then halfway through the book, something huge happens, and then it sends the readers into the actual dark fantasy realm, sort of like Constantine, Supernatural, things like that.
Ooh, that sounds really good. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to read that before we did your interview, but I'm like hooked on it now. I'm gonna go read it. Um, so are there any Easter eggs in your books that readers should look out for?
So I do have Easter eggs in it, especially in the first half. A lot of people that don't know what to expect of the book think the first half is not necessarily boring, but kind of a slice of life story. But if the readers really, really pay attention to the first half of the book, the second half of the book makes a lot of sense and kind of tells you where you're going to go in the story.
Okay, I love that.
So I'm very intrigued with this storyline. What inspired you to write this?
So I have always struggled with really vivid nightmares. I am a very vivid dreamer, but unfortunately, it's both good and bad dreams that are very vivid. And uh, I'm also like a really big horror fan. So instead of waking up and being completely freaked out by my nightmares, I'm like, oh, that would actually make a really good story. So I kind of started jotting down these crazy, like graphic nightmares that I would have, and I use them in a lot of the nightmare sequences that happen in the first half of the book.
Ooh. Okay, that's definitely interesting. I look forward to reading that, just knowing that it's coming from your nightmare. So, um, was there a scene in your book that it was like you had difficulty, maybe taking out or removing just because it was not working?
So, Great Divide was honestly originally supposed to be a Twilight-esque story, but demons instead of vampires. And I basically got to the end of the book and I was like, this is so cringy and something that I would have liked in high school, but I'm in my 30s now, so I kind of want something that I want now. So I deleted the second half of the book at one point and rewrote the entire last half of the book.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Side
It
note,
was heartbreaking, but I'm glad I did it.
Twilight spawned such a big amount of like just authors coming out, and that's amazing. I love it. I love that it did that.
And there's still romance, but not in the way you would expect it to be in there.
I'm so excited right now. With all of that and having to rewrite the last part of that, what is your favorite chapter or scene?
So I can't say why exactly because it's a huge spoiler, but I think it's chapter 11. um, is where you start seeing otherworldly things, and it gets more into like the supernatural element of everything. And again, with the original concept, it was going to be more of an urban fantasy where it stayed more in the real world. But then I got the chance to do all this world building and explore um, like other religions and other mythologies and create these characters that are just so beautiful and have like tragic background stories, but become powerful from that trauma. So I really enjoyed doing that.
So, what kind of research did you do for the world building, the religious stuff? What did you do for that?
So I grew up Catholic, so I used a lot of what I grew up knowing, but mostly scary movies and crime documentaries.
That's actually like, okay, so time's up, obviously. There was the loud noise. So the AMA will go on Instagram and then we're going to continue chatting and you can catch the rest of the episode on YouTube and Spotify. I do want to just, finish up that last question. I think it's amazing that you are drawing inspiration from all of these different sources, like, and making it into your own thing. That's incredible. I love that. So also circling back, you said that Twilight kind of inspired your writing, and I just want to I want to talk about that for a minute because that was such a huge phenomena back in like what 2008 when all of that was going on.
Yes.
So like what was your level of twihard?
Oh. Oh. uh Hardcore. Like I was determined that once I came of age to get a tattoo, I was gonna get like the vampire bite tattoo on my neck. So in the peak of the Twilight craze is when I met my husband, and he is a former punk kid. So anything that's popular, he immediately like stays away from. However, now me and him once a year watch all of the Twilight movies together. And I mean, he doesn't like them, but he likes to watch them with me to have fun with it. Because I mean, they're not great,
No.
but they're good. You know what I mean? Like they're fun, but he'll watch them with me every year. But I've always been a vampire girl. Like I love Dracula. I love the Lost Boys. So one of my future projects is about a female vampire and a female witch, and it's kind of a paranormal love story idea that I have. So I've got to get a vampire story out at some point.
That's awesome. I just like I mentioned before, it just created this massive uptick of people finding creativity and actually like finding themselves in writing, and I love it. Even though some of it's cringy now, like it did inspire so many people. So I don't know. All right, so moving past Twilight now, is there anything that you wanted to discuss or talk about with your readers or listeners?
So I am a multi-genre author. I have the sequel to Great Divide, which is Great Desolation. It was originally going to be the end of the story, and then the people demanded more. So I'm currently writing the third and for sure final book of the series now. I just finished chapter 4 last night, so I'm hoping that the third book is out around Halloween time because Great Divide and Great Desolation both came out in October of the past 2 years. So October is the goal, but I don't know. This year has been kind of wacky, so we'll see, but that's the goal. And then I have this book also. My Mother's Spirit was technically my first book that I ever published when I was 19, and I did it through a vanity publisher. So I basically handed them $2,000 and then they printed a really amateur book. It had a different cover. It wasn't marketed at all. It wasn't edited at all. And last year I got the rights back to it and republished it myself. And it's like my Taylor's version of My Mother's Spirit because it's now mine again, and it's a paranormal mystery. And I had originally written it um because my relationship with my mom at the time when I first wrote it wasn't that great. And then when I rewrote it, I kind of wrote the story of the mom and the daughter in a way that showed my healing process with my mom, and now our relationship is better now. So the book kind of grew with me. So that book's really special to me just in that way that it means something personal. And then my newest book is Temporarily Forever, and it is contemporary romance. So if you're a fan of P.S. I Love You or The Notebook or It Ends With Us, anything that's got like tearjerker elements to it, you'll be a fan of that one. So
I love that. So I wanted to ask, what's different now with self-publishing versus the vanity publishing before? Like what is the difference? What all goes into it?
with Vanity Publishing, it's literally a company that they will just charge for every little thing that you want done. Like I said, $2,000 literally just got me a book. The cover was from their limited amount of stock photos. And so I didn't even really have a whole lot of freedom with the cover. And then once it was published, they were just like, okay, well, if you want this, edited at all, it's thousands of dollars more. If you want it marketed at all, it's $1,000, like thousands of dollars more. So like it's definitely on the like scam region, like in that gray area. I can
Sounds
see
like
the
it.
appeal because it's kind of towing the line of self-publishing, because a lot of people, if you say self-publishing, then they automatically think it's not good quality. So I think vanity publishing gets you away from that. But luckily, indie authors are becoming way more popular now and getting a whole lot more support than they have before. So with indie publishing, you basically have full control of everything, which is fantastic because it's your art. But at the same time, you are every single job.
Yeah. Like, do you hire people to help you with any of that stuff, or is it really just you do all of it on your own?
I basically do everything on my own. Great Divide and Great Desolation, my husband did the covers of, and he's doing the third one. The other two books I did the covers of. And then with the editing process, I just get a group of people that I trust, like would trust with my children's lives, to go through it and help me edit it and reread through it. And luckily, I was an English nerd in school, so I kind of know a lot of that stuff already.
Hmm.
But obviously, when I'm just, typing away and not really thinking, I'll like miss a word in a sentence or I'll miss a quotation mark. So I have people go in and like comb through it a couple times and find all those things for me. And you obviously like can hire an editor, but I have a lot of author friends that paid for an editor and then they still have errors in their books. So it all just depends on what you want to do. There's no really right or wrong way to do it.
So, in your opinion, since there's not really a right or wrong way, if you could stick with indie publishing or go trad, which one would you do?
So my friend group was just talking about this. I It would have to be enough money to pay off my house. Because that's really
Okay.
honestly like my big long-term goal is to have my house paid off to where I don't have to work and I can just write for a living.
Hmm.
I'm also a board member of a local nonprofit called KC Book Beat, and we help local authors and we host book events and we connect readers with those local authors and small businesses and stuff. So my goal would be with traditional publishing, because I really don't want to, but it would have to be a sum of money to where I felt comfortable totally giving my work to someone else and just trusting them with it, which would be quite a bit of money.
That's a really good hot take though. Like because art is so personal and to
Yes.
give that up to someone else, that's really difficult. I've recently started doing character art for people and it is such a weird experience like having to give your own personal art away to someone and be like, "Look, here's what I came up with. Is it good enough?" And then there's the back and forth like of where they want you to edit things and then you're just like it's just such a weird experience and you don't understand it until you're doing it yourself.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I mean, I've had people go from indie to traditional, and they've told me stuff about how they have a story that involves a very political, like hot subject, and their publishers told them not to publish it.
Yeah.
Whereas if they stayed indie, they could still, because it's their story that they want to tell. Or they've had to change their cover, and their best friend did their original cover and it meant a lot to them, but the publishing company was like, well, but it's not marketable, so we're going to change the cover. And I get it because it gives you more sales, but it also is in mind of like making them more money, and it
Mhm.
just doesn't really have that like personal touch to it anymore.
There are so many different benefits to both. I honestly don't understand how people decide what to do. So kudos to you for making that decision. And I personally think it's amazing that you're sticking with indie publishing for now. So that's awesome. Uh, we are just about out of time though. Do you have any other things that you wanted to discuss before we wrap up?
Just check out Great Divide, Great Desolation. The third book, Great Devotion, is coming out hopefully this fall. It'll definitely be out by this winter. I'll be posting the cover reveal very, very soon. So if you follow me on any social media, or you can check out my website at www.vanessakramerauthor.com.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to include that link in all of the descriptions that we post with our videos. And I do want to thank you again, Vanessa, for joining us today. We had so much fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.